Hi all, Kyber1 here, and today we are looking at two books in the Star Wars role-playing game universe. Both for the D20 system, however, this is the revised core book, and this is the Saga edition core rulebook. Okay, so there were some rules revamps for both of these. I don't have the original D20 Star Wars role-playing game. So let's begin, shall we? Okay. Long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Ooh. Alright. Let's see. There's quite a few species there. What they consider classes. Skills. Alright. 382 pages. Alright. Now, let's look at this one. I like this little touch right here. C3PO and R2D2. So, contents. Way easier to deal with. 287. So, you're saving about 100 pages. And it's in a shorter format, which means the revised core book probably wasted a lot of space. So let's flip through the revised core rulebook first. And let's see. Okay. Sorry, I have a little chest down here that was open. All right, there we are. Let's see. And I don't really care about this one as much because it's very busy. Ooh, the designer's preface. Honestly, this was done in 2001, and the revision, or the Saga edition, was in 2005, I believe, so it didn't last that long. Okay, so the 3 eras of play. Okay, the prequel movies, which is the Rise of the Empire, the Galactic Civil War, the Rebellion. And then you have the events surrounding the invasion of the galaxy, which is Legacy, according to Disney. And so I would agree with that portion because Legacy's supported. And then there's this thing they've been trying to get you to join since the late 70s, I believe. RPGA. So here's character creation in a nutshell. Although a thick nutshell. Generate ability scores. Select your species. Choose your class. Assign ability scores. Write down your species features. Write down your class features. Vitality points, wound points, defense, speed, initiative, base attack bonus, reputation, force points, saving throw bonuses, melee attack bonus, ranged attack bonus, select skills, select feats, determine starting credits and buy gear, and then finishing your character. So there's some steps there. And this one uses a lot of the the movie stuff, like still frames from the movies, which strikes me a bit as no thank you. And then it does something like this. And honestly, I don't really care for this art style. It's cartoony realism. So it's just, and then you got this, which is just cartoony. And I don't know. I think there needed to be more consistency in this book. This isn't the one I'm honestly reviewing because there's a reason mechanically they needed to redo this book, and they managed to save 100 pages with the Saga version. I'm just showing you guys why they decided to go about this. And I will be covering the Saga edition just after this. Because why waste your time? You guys know what you're here for. I mean, some of it's okay. Some of the art's okay. But it's very... I don't know. And then once again, you have still frames from the movie. So the inconsistency in art really pulls me away from this variant. And I might review Edge of the Empire later, because I have that. But I figured it was important to go over the D20 variant separately. Okay, so you have your character levels here, the XP, skill rank max, or skill class skill max ranks, cross class feats, ability increases, and I mean, ultimately, the reason why this didn't do as well as it could have or should have was because it was tied to the D&D system, the D20 system, if you will. But honestly, that helped it in some other aspects, because then I could introduce the Sith as part of some weird cult in part of my D&D game flawlessly. Okay, so the power levels were a bit different, and there was some tweaking. But honestly, once you knew one system, the other one, the differences were mostly ignored because they were so minute at times and frustratingly awful at the other times. Once again, they used a still frame, and just, to me, it doesn't go well with this other section of it. Still frame. Alright, I'm going to flip through here a bit faster, but as you can see, the classes section is quite thick. Alright. Chapter 4, skills. And honestly, I don't see why you need a skill section this thick. If you guys have been part of the channel for a bit, you guys know how I feel about deep dive skill systems. They honestly slow the game down for very little benefit. And then somebody ruined this book at some point in time with some water damage or something, and that irks me, but this is the only copy of Star Wars I had at the time. It might have been a bad print run or something of that nature, but I doubt it. I got this book used, and normally that would bug me, but because I got it used, I'm not as bothered by it. Yeah, see what I mean? The skill system just goes on and on. And if you want to play this, import it to Pathfinder 1. Because just import the light side, dark side points thing, and that's about it into Pathfinder. And then you have D&D Star Wars, and then you import the weapons and some of the feats. Not the skills. The skills, just simplify them as feats. Because it's too much. We're already 10.5 minutes, and now we're in the feats section. And we have force feats now, and you can easily add those into Pathfinder 1. Of course, simplify that further. Import as much as you want of this into something like ICRPG, the Index Card RPG. Import some of the Pathfinder stuff from Index Card RPG or 13th Age, and you have a working system. Honestly, I think I'm going to review 13th Age soon. Because, look, so much specific stuff. And I don't see the benefit in knowing how much somebody weighs at a constant. And I get it, there's this immersion thing, but at the same time, there are so many charts and tables. And equipment, chapter 7. And it goes over money. I'm really glad I got in at the revised edition when it was used. And I just... The base game was overly heavy and made it overly frustrating to do rules as written when you wanted to build a specific character type that wasn't canon but was unique enough to work. Combat. 12.5 minutes, and we're finally getting to how combat works. And I'm just trying to show you as much as possible because, once again, it's a big book. Over 300 pages, almost 400 pages. And, see, critical hit flow chart. I like this. This is more of the style that they should have used throughout the entire book. Like an interface that somewhat reminds you of Star Wars. Without all this jargon here. Like, this jargon should have been translated into meaningful stuff. Maybe this stuff could have been off to the side or something, and then this could have looked like it was translated from the Star Wars linguistics. Speeding up combat. Maybe this should be first. Like, the problem is I don't think anybody likes slow combat. And when you realize in a revision of the book that you are doing that you need to speed up combat, and once again, this is actually super useful, and they do have this bar here that separates the Star Wars language from the actual diagram. I like that. Yeah, Stormtrooper go down. But look at this. Okay. Base attack bonus, auto fire weapon. You know what this reminds me of? First edition Dungeons and Dragons. That's a table. Like, and honestly, Star Wars didn't feel like this. The D6 version of Star Wars, which I have around here somewhere. I think those are what I'm going to review next. Probably Edge of the Empire and then D6 Star Wars. And, or, yeah, probably. Anyways, but the Fantasy Flight variants on Star Wars and then the D6, because Star Wars feels a lot more like those than the D20 system to me. And just, this has some issues. Yay. Okay, the Force. Alright. So, this section is probably the redeeming quality of it, because the Force section is the part that is Star Wars. This makes up what Star Wars is. And acknowledging that, they have a lot of the Force code and things like that, light side, dark side situations. Just trying to flip through this. The dark side clouds everything, like this book. I know that was a bit snarky. Vehicles. So, I really like how they take key moments to illustrate what's going on. But the game feels so weighty. Ramming in collisions. There are rules that I would never see myself using in vehicle combat, because why do I need to look up a chart or something when I know what I want to do? And the game should be about letting the Force guide you if you're a Force user, and you don't really see much of what's going on with that. And so there's no rules for Force integrated vehicle use. Like when Obi-Wan tells Luke to trust in the Force when Luke's blowing up the first Death Star. Starships. And this, I'm glad they have this in here. This is awesome. The galaxy. Look how awesome that is. Yeah, I'm just trying to get through here. Starships, as you notice, are separated from vehicles because they're not just vehicles. By the way, Mandalorian Season 2 was pretty awesome. Heroes as crew. Terminology. Oh, Slave 1. Yeah, Boba Fett ship. Game mastering. Okay, so this part I'm just going to flip through because it's metric conversions. This is kind of useful. But on the other hand, it doesn't feel super important until much later. Like, this is Star Wars. You're supposed to... Star Wars is Indiana Jones in space. It's about that pulp action. And taking too much time... I honestly think Savage Worlds would run Star Wars better than the D20 system. If you like that, please agree. Say something about that. Because all of the the things that a game master would... So much of the game master section is standard fare for an RPG book. And this section's more relevant to what Star Wars is as the role-playing game, the experience rewards. But overall, like, we have Code A, simple, challenging, and extreme, and then the sample creatures. But I really wish they would tell you where to find these creatures, for instance. Like, what resource or what book. And probably the page. Quick reference is the key to smooth operation in a role-playing game. Prestige classes, Bounty Hunter, the Crime Lord, the Dark Side Devotee, the Dark Side Marauder. Okay, so these are prestige classes, yet they heavily encourage you to take away the PC's characters if they pursue a dark side path. However, these are options, and you see Darth Vader atone later. So, I understand that these are in the game mastering section, but at the same time, I want to see these be useful. Like, how's... Yeah. The new Star Wars, Edge of the Empire, Age of Rebellion, and not Force Unleashed, the other one, Force and Destiny, they deal with that prospect much better, in my opinion, because only Force and Destiny worries about Force powers, because the other two have their own unique themes. Alright, eras of play, 13, and you know about the eras of play. So, that is not recommended. Let's get into the actual Saga edition. Now, this one's much shorter. I'm going to go a little more in depth. I'm sorry about the length of time that one took. But as you can see, I didn't do much talking on it because I didn't feel it was necessary. Now, here's something interesting. Christopher Perkins. He's actually one of the lead designers for 5th edition D&D. So, what do we know about this just from that? It's going to be way easier to run. Alright, this is Star Wars. This is a role-playing game. This is the Star Wars role-playing game. So, they're just retouching on that. And as you can see, you've seen this guy before in the last one under like the Jedi Master or Jedi Consular or something. Okay, 3 eras of play. Okay, so it goes over all that again, what this is. So this is rehash. And they got rid of a lot of the preface. And then they numbered what it is that you do. See that? Select skills, select feats. It's a lot shorter, and there's a lot less wasted space. The art is way better. Once again, you have this, but it looks better. It's not fully blown up. This looks like a poster of some kind integrated with the themes. And this doesn't look too out of place with it because it's over here in this section. And then they go over your typical D&D stuff. Character, chapter 2 species. Okay. They're rehashing some art, but at least it's not that full scale art, and it looks a little better because it's shrunken down. Like, this did not look good at the original size. A lot of this looks a higher fidelity with it being condensed. And I'm saying that from an in-person perspective because, boom, we have new art here. Choosing a heroic class. Now, part of this is where they really mesh things together. See, they got rid of the page distance between much of this stuff, and they didn't do a lot of rehashing because rehashing is completely unnecessary. And here we are, female human Jedi. Building a lightsaber. Sensing the dark side. Like, alright, female human noble. So, a lot of what they were trying to do during this era was get more women to play. So, 3rd edition Dungeons & Dragons started this by changing the pronoun he to she, which it wasn't that offensive, and it wasn't offensive at all, because as somebody that enjoys role-playing games, sorry, I had to switch on the power to my laptop, otherwise it would die. Most guys like it when a woman joins their group. Like, I mean, some groups aren't set that way, and that's fine because that's their table. You shouldn't impose yourself on another gaming style table. But, once again, rehashed art. But it's shorter and more condensed. And even though there's all this blank space around here, this just shows you how much rehashing they did early on and how much wasted space and wasted color. This book was a lot cheaper for them to produce, I'm betting, because it's smaller and they're using up less art. Or not less art, but they have a white border and it doesn't feel as busy. Your friend is quite a mercenary. I wonder if he really cares about anything or anybody. Leah Organa. So, yeah. Does Han really care about anything or anybody? Multi-character classes. Skills. Oh, yeah, the skill system. And already this is a lot better laid out because it's less busy. Look at that art. That's awesome. So a lot of this I think they pulled from the comic book. I wasn't really into the Star Wars comic book that much. And honestly though, like when I started getting into it, look at this. Can't really see it that well, but it's impressive. Feats. Acquiring feats. Prerequisites. Feat descriptions. She's awesome. Like, you notice how the skill system didn't take 300 years to get through either? That's because this book is superior. I've only spent less than 10 minutes in this book so far. And we got through the skill system. The Force. The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural. Supreme Chancellor Palpatine. And I still don't like this with the still frame. Like, I prefer the poster style art for that. But, oh, look, rehashed art. I wonder what that was. But, yeah. Oh, this scene, that, like, negate energy. And that's an excellent picture of that. Oh, probably one of the best scenes from episode 2. Or, no, 3. Episode 3, I believe. Yeah. When he's facing down Sidious. Oh, yeah. And the Jedi Code broken into this, like, that's way better than how it used to be. Alright. I'm not trying to waste your guys' time here. And I said I would go over this one a bit more. But honestly, you could see why this one is better. Let me pull this up again. Okay. Okay, they got this odd blue color going on. It's very busy. And then these are small and those are thicker. So with less space, they're using wider sections. And with more space, they're using shorter sections and smaller fonts. Slightly smaller fonts. But this is far easier to read. Because this reminds me of kind of the MacBook look. Like the way they do it, like the black, the gray and the white. And we don't need a calculation or a roll to determine height and weight. We see its average and we can say that we are bigger than that or whatever. That simplifies that aspect. Okay, equipment. Once again, money, carrying credits, wealth beyond credits. Oh, great art, by the way. See, poster style art, that is effective. And in some ways, this feels far more like the prequel, as it should, because it is prequel art. But it feels far more modern and spicy and just interesting. And then you see the planet, and this feels far more like the comic book from Dark Horse. In the way that Star Wars was this crazy galaxy of just power and mystery. And if you read the Darth Bane trilogy, I only made it through the first two because I got to reading the third book and I don't do well at finishing things, like, because I didn't want Darth Bane's saga to end. He rocks. Darth Bane. Retractable stocks, ranged weapons. Like, this feels a lot more useful. And let me put this up. Okay. Ranged weapons. Ranged weapons. Okay. Look at all the stuff we needed there. Now look at what they did for their ranged weapons. Sorry. But you could tell the difference in what they were going for. Chris Perkins did an excellent job. Great art. Love the comic book look. And it makes it more exciting, more pulpy. And Star Wars was all about pulp excitement. So I always thought it was weird that Luke's metal hand, like even though it had this organic texture to it, he wears a glove on it, and I kind of wonder why that is, because you would think he doesn't. I mean, it's obviously feelable because when he gets poked, he feels it and he's like, "Ow." So much better tech than in his dad's day. And now we get to Chapter 9, Combat Sequence. And something else that's cool about this book is along the side, you can see where the chapter ends. You know, so you can measure where you are contextually. And this is okay art. I don't really care for it, but it's definitely got a vibe. I do like this, though. I think that's excellent art design. I mean, for like illustrative purposes. Does the entire book do that? Yeah, it's lighter up here, and then the dark spots get darker. The glare's kind of... It's different for me because my visual perspective is a bit different, so that's why I have a television over there hooked up via HDMI. Nice. It's like a lizard chewy. Okay, vehicles. I love this. Starship battles. And starships, I think they removed the starship section entirely to just condense the stuff. Yeah, because, they removed the starship section because that immediately followed in the other book. But they were able to merge the vehicle section and the starship section. It's been a while since I've been over these, and I wanted to come at it from a fresh perspective. This is good art, and art really is important when you're illustrating a point. Much like when Vader has that still frame of when he's preventing Han's blaster fire. And then binary, the language of the droids. And thank you, Chris Perkins. This is far more amazing. Okay, prestige classes. And this was back in the Game Master section earlier. They did a far better job communicating information to people because people wanted to be a crime lord or whatever, elite trooper, force adept, force disciple. Like, you had so many more options available to players in an obvious place. Jedi Knight. Like, who didn't want to play a Jedi Knight? You're playing Star Wars, right? Jedi Master. And once again, you see this guy again. I pointed him out before. Alright, Galactic Gazetteer. So this was called something else in the other book, but we're just flipping through here. We're at over 40 minutes for this review. And I thought that was important because this is not only the Star Wars saga, but the revised, and you could tell why without really getting much info. I still have the map here, by the way. I don't like to remove maps because if I ever were to decide to hand it down, I don't want to be like, well, part of the book's kind of missing. And the game mastering section is now a lot smaller. Look at that art. That's awesome. Setting the pace. But they really cleaned up what they were talking about. Simplifying the rules, making clearer space choices. So, if you are to make a game, I can't think of any other better example of the what not to do with the revised version and the what to do with the Saga version. Because art speaks to a game's intent. Like, what does the game feel like? Eras of play. Okay, so yeah, flip through that. Oh, look, reused art again. And a lot of these images just feel higher quality because they're not so blown up and stretched. Like, you gotta remember, the film that they were working with wasn't brand new in most cases, and great poster art. And so when they made large images, it would get a bit blurry, but like shrinking things down allowed them a higher fidelity sort of appeal, unless you got really close. And that concludes my Star Wars Revised and Saga review. And this guy would have never existed in a perfect world. Kylo. However, I have a lot of respect for Adam Driver. I think Adam Driver is a good guy, and primarily that's why I got this. Because if I went the Vader, that would be too typical. But so far, I have nothing against Adam Driver, and I think that he should continue acting, because even though I did not like his role as Kylo Ren, that doesn't mean I don't think he could do some better job somewhere else. Just stay away from romance. If he is the next Twilight character, I will recant that statement. All right, Kyber 1 out.